Hans, thank you. Democratic candidates are now looking ahead to the Nevada caucus and South Carolina primary. NBC senior political analyst Jonathan Allen is with me now. All right, John, let's start with that New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio endorsement of Bernie Sanders. What do you make of that?
Seems like a direct hit on Mayor Michael Bloomberg, right? Mike Bloomberg might be more popular than Bill de Blasio among all New Yorkers, but certainly not necessarily more popular among Democrats, not necessarily more popular among liberal Democrats. And so I think this is a signal from Bernie Sanders that he's got some firepower in this city and with major liberal groups across the country.
Well, de Blasio and Bloomberg have long been at odds, right?
Yes, absolutely. Look, any mayor that leaves the city wants to dump on his successor, wants his successor to not do quite as well as he has done. And I think we've seen that Bloomberg and his allies have not been particularly kind to Bill de Blasio. At the same time, de Blasio didn't really like the way that Mayor Bloomberg handled his office and has had some differences in his time. So we're going to now see this play out again on the national level. Bill de Blasio ran for president, didn't do very well. We are seeing Mike Bloomberg with multiple times the support in polls already that Bill de Blasio ever got as a presidential candidate. All that said, endorsements don't matter that much, so I think this is probably more an attempt to get under Mike Bloomberg's skin than anything else.
Well, Sanders had a strong showing in New Hampshire, not quite as strong as in 2016 when he won 60% of the vote. So how crucial are Nevada and South Carolina for Bernie?
I think they're very crucial. I think every state matters, obviously. I think one of the things that folks should watch in Nevada and South Carolina for all of the candidates, but particularly for Bernie Sanders, is we're now moving into states where the population is much more diverse. In Nevada, you have a very significant Hispanic population. You also have an African-American population. In South Carolina, the African-American vote is likely to be a majority of the electorate. And Bernie Sanders has been working both of these constituencies very hard since his 2016 election. In South Carolina, you may see a fracture for the first time in 16 years among black voters. It looked like Joe Biden was really going to be the dominant force in the black electorate until his slide in Iowa and New Hampshire. So now that's more wide open. Bernie Sanders looks to perhaps be the beneficiary of some of that. In Nevada coming up before that, we've seen in the polls Bernie Sanders leading a little bit. He's going to get some pushback right now from the culinary workers, which is the big union out there. They're trying to go against Medicare for all, but a lot of their union members, as opposed to the leadership, like Bernie. So watch that too as well out there.
Interesting. Well, we know that Buttigieg came out of Iowa, New Hampshire very strong. Klobuchar saw a surge after the debate. What do you expect from both of their campaigns moving forward?
We're already seeing from Pete Buttigieg a big pivot. He basically has no support among black and Hispanic voters if you look at polls. He really went hard after Iowa. He wanted to win in Iowa. The Iowa Democratic Party called him the winner, although NBC and some of the other networks are not doing that because of the contested results there. You saw him come in a close second in New Hampshire. He is now really doing as much as he possibly can to tout his record on issues of importance to people of color in South Bend, Indiana. You've seen him come out with a Spanish language advertisement in the last couple of days in Nevada. You saw him promoting the fact that he knew the name of the president of Mexico, Obrador, while some of his fellow candidates did not. This is a candidate right now who really needs to break through with voters of color to have any chance in Nevada and South Carolina and in a bunch of the Super Tuesday states. Amy Klobuchar has a very similar problem. They're going to be fighting to get any traction that they can.
All right, so let's talk about Warren and Biden as well, both of them sliding. What do you expect in terms of them trying to make a comeback in these next two races?
Joe Biden is going to have to show up. Certainly in South Carolina, where he had that strong African-American support before. He's going to be looking to voters there to essentially bail him out of what has been an embarrassing slide for a two-term former vice president of the United States. Really disappointing finishes in both Iowa and New Hampshire. I think he'd like to do well in Nevada, but it doesn't look like that's going to be his strongest of the states. South Carolina is what he has always called the firewall state for him. him. He's got some strong ties there. He worked really hard on dredging issues in South Carolina, in the port of Charleston, trying to rebuild the port there. So that's going to be his firewall. As far as Elizabeth Warren goes, she's basically making the argument that she's going to be able to be competitive for delegates for a long time. But she hasn't shown that there's a state that she can win yet, and it doesn't appear that that's likely to happen in Nevada or in South Carolina. So I think folks are going to be watching to see, can she do better than third or fourth place in either one of those states?
John Allen, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Good to see you, Lindsay.